We are we are live. Don't jump the gun here. Welcome to Churros y Tácticas, folks. The first one of the week, the post Clasico podcast here on Churros, live and in the flesh. It was another emphatic baño, a bathe that we gave to the Madridistas with Lamine Yamal giving an all-time top performance. The GOAT, it's official. Let's discuss. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to the first Churros of the week, the first Churros as well since the Clasico happened, the last one of this season. It's so sad. I don't want it to end. I wish this season wouldn't end, but it had to come to an end, and it did so with an emphatic 4-3 win in the Montjuic, in the Lluís Companys. Another emphatic performance. Yes, indeed. It was another great performance by Football Club Barcelona. One for the books. I get that the scoreline somewhat camouflages exactly what happened, but that's why we're here to discuss the nitty-gritty, the detail. But you'll excuse me for taking this one under my wing and as another kind of historic performance for the Blaugranas in this marathon of Clasico that we had. Kiyan, before I give you the word, just want to rewind the tape here and take us back to October the 26th, to be specific. Not that far away. You might think it's a year. It's more around 6-7 months. That one ended with a 4-0 bloodbath over in the Bernabeu. That one got the whole Clasico rivalry, let's say, for this season at least, started. Then it was a 5-2 in the final of the Supercopa. Another excellent performance with its back and forths. Yes, Madrid did themselves good in scoring 2 goals. However, Barça put a manita back behind them. Then it was on April 26th, the new year, the first Clasico. Not the first Clasico. That was January the 12th, the final of the Supercopa. The Copa del Rey final was April 26th. That one went down to the wire. Yes, indeed. Barça having to come back from behind. A comeback. That one ended in a 3-2 thriller. And then on May 11th, just over the weekend, another comeback win to seal the 4-3 victory. 4-2 at the half. Kiyan, I said yesterday on D-Spot, I said at the halftime, I was done. I'm like, this is too much football. These games are not for the faint-hearted. I couldn't take any more at halftime. What an absolute thrill. What a joy of a season has been. And here we are, like I said, to discuss the nitty-gritty. My friend, welcome back.
I don't remember any of these things you just mentioned. 4-0, October, what? I honestly don't even know what you're talking about. There was the Clasico in January. Don't remember. If it did happen, someone's gonna refresh my memory. Or don't. I'm happy to not be refreshed. I don't remember any of it. No recollection. I don't even remember what happened on the weekend, to be honest with you. I don't remember. Did we play a game of football? I can't remember. I don't remember anything from this season. In fact, I would like to erase this entire season from my memory. Just take us to next season.
No, you want to learn from your mistakes.
To forget, man.
Well, to forget, but also to learn from, I would think.
Yeah, and it was Mehedi and I were recording a post-game show on Sunday, and I said, this is the most forgettable season for us, and unfortunately, we will never forget it. It will be one of the most I don't think memorable is the right word. What's the word? It will be impossible to forget because it was so jarring and traumatizing. Unfortunately, it will always be with us like a scar. It'll be a scar we'll carry.
It's funny though, because before we dive into this game, and I do want to go into the details of it because I think there's a lot to be said, but preparing for this here little intro for Churros last year, Kiyan, as you'll know very well, it was a 4 consecutive win streak for Real Madrid, starting
but we don't have the PR, so no one talks about that.
Well, but the thing is, also the games, I don't think transpired in the same fashion. It wasn't this exuberance. There wasn't this sense of, dude, when Barca went 2-0 down after Kylian Mbappe scored the brace there in 15 minutes. Um, I felt fine, and that's fucking, like, I never felt
It's
like this
justifiable.
before. And I don't know if you felt that kind of dominance in last year's Clásicos, where, yeah, I do remember, your sort of arrogance, if you will, in a good sense of the word. I don't
Just
take
the
any issue
Super
with
Cup
it.
last year, I think, was the only dominant one. The
Yeah,
4-1. Was that last year or 2 years ago?
that
No,
was
last
last
year.
year.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. What makes these so different?
Well, it's a combination of two things. If I were to very like simplify it, obviously there's way more details than what I'm about to say. But the two things that happened is that one, this was the worst Real Madrid in years, going up against the best Barcelona in years. And what Barcelona did to Real Madrid actually is something that every team did to Real Madrid all season. The only difference was that Barcelona were better, just a more exaggerated version of that because they were so much better than everybody this year. And so they really magnified it, how bad Real Madrid are. And I think this is basically what happened is that this team was so incredibly flawed from the squad, the injuries, the coaching, the poor performances of the stars. Um, and everyone just exploited it, and Barcelona really, really exploited it. Barcelona took a bazooka to it and really, really showed everyone like, wow, this is a huge gap between these teams tactically, collectively, efficiency wise. I mean, it just it didn't help that our best player from last season. I don't know what happened to him this season. He was a shell of himself. And then you just go down and listen to all the injuries and all that stuff. And I have Diego, I don't know. I feel bad because I feel like I could potentially monopolize the mic for an hour and you would just sit there staring at me. I'm going to try my best not to do that, but jump in whenever you want. But I also think um, one big difference between Real Madrid and Barcelona this season was obviously the managers. And I hate doing this to one of my favorite managers of all time, one of the greatest football managers of all time. It's a really sad ending for the Don, and I wish him all the best in Brazil. I have skepticism of that working out well, so I'm kind of worried about him, to be honest, what's going to happen in Brazil. But I think if you look at the big difference between Real Madrid and Barcelona, apart from maybe the more intricate tactics and the more complex tactics, is that both Barcelona and Real Madrid had injuries this season. When Barcelona had injuries and crises, they looked to the youth team. When Real Madrid had crises this season, when Carvajal went out, instead of looking to the youth team, he looked at Lucas Vasquez. And he looked at Lucas Vasquez getting flame broiled to a crisp week in, week out, and just continued to go with it until the end. And by the way, just to remind people, one of the most promising right backs in Spanish football is a Real Madrid academy player, 17-year-old Jesus Fortea. I don't know, he's 17. I don't know if he's actually. I think he's. I don't know if he might be older, but anyways, he's it with Juvenil A, and he's doing really well with the Spanish national team. I guarantee you, if that was Flick or Barca, he would have played by now. And I think just a lot of things, but it's not all Carlos' fault. It's not all Carlos' fault. There's plenty of blame to be going around, but um, it was just a really bad season and everything went wrong.
The fact of the matter is, Kiyan, sorry to interject here, but it's Barca's fault that Real Madrid are also in the situation that they're in, because you're going to finish second in the league. So had it been any other opposition that you would be facing, you would be champion. So
In
I guess
fact,
my
Diego,
question is, how much credit?
I'm actually for that. I'm actually thankful a little bit because I mentioned this on the post game show too. There is a scenario where last season's Barca with Xavi is here this season, and Real Madrid win the league off of this shitty season, and then no changes are made. I'm not going to say it's a bad thing to win a league title. Obviously, I would never say that, but there are some interesting ramifications that would come out of something like that if there were no changes made and we just got away with it. You know what I mean?
Mm.
So in some ways, it might be good that there was a team that was able to exploit us so badly and win the league off of us.
I mean, Xavi missed out last year on the league with I think it was 87 points, 85, 87. Madrid is at 75 with how many matches? 3 matches left to play. Three, right? Uh, that puts your tally less than Xavi. So give
Yeah,
credit where credit is
it's
due. I don't
possible
think
that
that
Xavi's
Xavi's
Barca
season
would have
was.
won too.
Mm. I don't think Xavi is necessary to slander his name more than you or the media have done already.
No, of
It's
course not. But it's not slander to point out the obvious that Flick has taken this Barca team to another level. That's not
of
Xavi
course.
slander. That's obvious. That's
Well, I
very
mean, but
obvious.
who would have? Who's to say that maybe this season Madrid would have not been as bad, let's say, or unsuccessful? Certainly, these clásicos would have not been had the same results. That's true. But anyway, let's not. That's a hypothetical. I'm not willing, or there's no need to entertain that. But what do you make of? I want to. I love to do this in especially games that you witnessed in person, but these clásicos as well. Where were you after 15 minutes with the 2-0 mentally? Where were
Right.
you mentally?
Yeah. I mean,
Where was the bar? You watched this with the
no. I
minions, the
mean, this one
Madridista
actually,
minions.
Mehdi and
You
I
guys
just
must have been
watched.
pretty pumped.
Well, Mehdi and I just watched it together. In the condo I was staying at, it was just us two. We didn't go to the bar because
Oh,
we were
I
working.
imagine. Sorry. Okay, yeah.
Yeah. So I don't really know. But I can probably paint a picture for everyone in the bar. They probably were celebrating and then they weren't celebrating after that. But I think at 2-0 that 2-0, um it's interesting because you said you weren't concerned at all, and I think you're justified in feeling that way given what we've seen from Barca this season, given that they go 2-0, 3-0 down, doesn't matter. Within minutes, like literally they can be level and ahead. And to go from 2-0 to 4-2 is crazy, but also not surprising given what we've seen from Barca this season. Um, but at 2-0, like, you know, you've done well up until that point. So it was a good start. You'd rather be up 2-0 than 0-0 after 50 minutes, that's for sure. The transition opportunities up until that point had been well executed. Mbappe continues to play well. That I feel like that's another segment at some point I want to talk to you about. But at 2-0 down, it's like you had played well until that point, and now you have a 2-goal lead against a team that, had the gutting mental um elimination to Inter. Plus, maybe there's some fatigue. Maybe, and also Koundé's not there. Balde hasn't come in yet. So this is a good spot to be in. What we
Yeah.
didn't know at that time. Well, so we can assume that Barca are going to come back because that's what they do. But what we didn't know is how Real Madrid were just going to play horrendous after that in every shape or form, defensively, offensively. And so, what do you say, Diego? I mean, we've had this conversation for the fourth time this season, with respect to the Clasico. So it's really not that surprising.
Mm, mm, mm. And in those two opening two goals, did you see anything that you were like, "Woof, we kind of got away with those two opening goals"? The offside, the Valverde stomp.
Well,
Do you
the
think the
Mbappe,
referee had his calls? This game wasn't without this controversy, Kiyan. Let's not beat around the bush.
yeah, for sure. But I don't think there was anything wrong in the first two goals, and because later we saw the automated offside with Mbappe being onside in that play. Um, and also,
Well, no, the opposite. We saw he was offside.
uh, oh, sorry, I'm mixing it up with the penalty that was called back, the one where he dove. Um,
Mm-mm.
the so the first one. the play was in a completely different spot to the when he was initially offside. So I had no issue with that. I thought that was the correct call. The second one, I thought initially Lamine kind of just went down really soft, but then there was another image with Fede on his boot, so I can definitely understand why that should have been called off. Um, I think there were a lot of weird calls in this game. I don't think that's why Real Madrid lost. I think no, even obviously like regardless, Barcelona would have won this game.
Mm.
But this is just another day in La Liga. This is just um,
I know, but I feel like this Clasico was very much overshadowed by Hernandez. This would have been a result or a Clasico that would have been more abundant in goals had it not been for
well, which
very
which do
dubious.
you want to just go through it? Which ones do you
Yeah.
think that?
So
Yeah.
okay. So here in Spain and in Catalonia, Barcelona, and Madrid, like mainly there have been, I would say, maybe 6 to 8 calls that have been put under the spotlight. I went over it yesterday in these spots. I'm happy to go down the list, but it started with the penalty for Mbappe, right? The first goal that allowed Real Madrid to go up a goal to nil. Mbappe was fouled by Szczesny. Absolutely no question with regards to whether or not Szczesny fouled the Frenchman, but it was what preceded to the penalty. In other words, the offside position where Kubarsi controls the ball after an offside pass. So here there's debate, okay, and I'm willing to entertain the debate. I have learned over the course of these 7 years to be less maybe polarizing and be more open to debates from the other side. So I thank you for that, Kiyan. Uh, to maybe the disagreement of the more radical and fanatic Barca fans, the debate that is being held by people that know a lot more about the game, meaning ex players, ex coaches, or referees as well, is that when Kubarsi controls the ball, he has enough time to initiate a new play, therefore negating the offside position. I had to look, I had to rewatch that. I think it's certainly debatable whether Kubarsi or not has the control of the ball to negate the offside in overall of all like of the list that we're about to go through of 6 or 7 plays, that's sort of the one of the least ones I take issue with. I think it was at an offside position. When I saw it live, I thought this is not going to get called because clearly he's in offside. I didn't feel that Kubarsi had a handle enough in order to negate the offside, but that was the decision. The first one, controversial, but okay, let's move on. The foul on Lamine before the 2-0, I thought was one of the most flagrant ones. Valverde clearly stomps on Lamine Yamal. There was a plethora of examples that came to mind, starting with Koundé. I think it was against Rayo Vallecano in the beginning of the season, where like the stomp is not even comparable. VAR pulled it back to a play that was in that happened in the Barça defense, where Koundé steps on the toes of the opposing player. The play continues. A goal is scored. It is ruled. It is cancelled. Basically, is ruled off because of this step, the stomp on Koundé on the opposing player. The fact that this didn't happen in this scenario goes in line with the continuous inconsistencies that we continue to see happen in the game of football in La Liga that, quite frankly, bothered me tremendously. Right? It bothers me so much that we cannot just have a rule book to hold up and say, look, it states this. This is what happened. There's no, interpretation necessary depending on who is which person is refereeing this play. It's clear as daylight. It's black or white. There's no gray.
Yeah.
But the fact that that didn't happen was very yeah, it definitely made me feel like Barca were being unfairly, or Barça were unfairly conceding a goal here. There was a significant disadvantage. So even
You're
2
talking
nil
about the
down
second
against,
goal.
sorry,
Sorry, I just got distracted. You're talking about the second goal, right?
the second goal. So, and I should highlight as well, 9 seconds had passed between the stomp of Valverde and Lamine and the goal. I say that because in the handball of Frankie de Jong, there's a handball, right? De Jong handles the ball during the play that leads up to a goal 30 seconds later. Now, here the rules say that Barça, that basically VAR protocol calls for non-immediate action, meaning that VAR correctly didn't intervene as the goal wasn't immediate. Did the referee miss out on a handball? Did Frankie de Jong deliberately handle the ball? I don't think so. I think it was again an accidental situation that, for me at least, justifies the Chouameni handball not called later on, right? With the Ferran Torres shot.
Yeah.
Even there, I think there's shades of there's a lot of shades of gray here. But Hernandez in this game was inconsistent, right? The
Can I
handball on
just, before
Chouameni
we
in
go
the
through the rest of them, just to make a
yeah,
couple
yeah,
points?
okay. So, well, there was so the red card on Chouameni on Ferran Torres wasn't called. The reason why it wasn't called was that the direction that the ball was heading was supposedly away from goal. Therefore, Torres's direction was away from goal. Initially, I accepted that, and I'm saying in the post game when I was watching the analysis, I was saying, okay, well, that seems fair. Mind you, I'm listening to this on the radio. I had to rewatch that to actually realize that the goal was not moving away from goal. It was actually moving towards goal. So the red card for Chouameni would have been the right call in that situation. It wasn't called. Again, I feel Barça was on the shitty end of the stick in that call. The handball claim on Chouameni, Torres shoots literally a meter away from Chouameni. He has his arm down. It's slightly to the back. For me, when I saw it live, I thought that they were gonna not call the penalty. Hernandez deemed it not a penalty. From what I have heard, Kiyan, and I base this on a large, let's call it sample size of different media outlets and experts and pundits having their opinion on it. The penalty should have been called. In the moment, I didn't think it was going to be called, precisely because of the reason that Chouameni had his arm down. It depends on the angle that you look at. Some angles you can see that there's a movement towards it going down. Some argue that the fact that the shot was on goal and the direction of the arm was going down as it was happening, it's reason to call the penalty. Again, for all this debate, I would like there to be just a very strict criteria that would allow us to not have these kind of debates. Where I thought the referee was completely wrong was in the disallowed goal for Fermin Lopez in the 5-3. The fact that got ruled out, I thought, was hugely inconsistent with the way that he had been refereeing all day or all afternoon. It's indeliberate handball. It had no influence in the buildup of the play, neither. The handball didn't directly lead to the goal. A new play began. VAR's intervention was inconsistent as well with the non-intervention to, for example, Lamine Yamal's foul, and therefore Barça were unfairly treated, I think, for the vast majority of this game. And I say this, I think it's right to point it out because this game could have ended 4-4. This game could have been potentially like it could have swayed the outcome in a different way where Madrid would have benefited and come out with points, and who knows, a La Liga title in another universe. Who knows? My point is that these are, for all the times that we say we don't want to talk about referees, we always do because the detail matters, right? The details matter in every game. And it could have had an adverse outcome for Barca's interest and I think also justice in this case.
So I just want to say that I think it's crazy that this has been such a main talking point for you and for so many Barcelona fans after a
Oh,
win.
for the media, also for
Yeah, but
Madrid. I mean,
the thing is that this is my frustration with it, is that every single fan base thinks that they're getting screwed, and they have zero interest in bringing anything up if it's the other way around, if it's their team screwing someone else, or if it's another team getting screwed. If Real Madrid complain about stuff in their channel, they are whiners and complainers. But if any other person does it, if any other club does it, it's okay. Like,
No,
yeah, come
that's
on.
the
This
difference,
is
Kian.
ridiculous.
No,
No, no.
the difference is talking after a game and not before, like Real Madrid TV have been doing systematically. That's the difference.
What I just want to be clear on something. By the way, I agree with most of what you're saying with regards to the calls. Um, I do think the handball rule being so fuzzy and so many people arguing after every game, was it a handball or not, obviously points to something in the rules that is very hard to interpret sometimes, whether it's deliberate, whether it's not. Personally, I don't think Chouameni could have done anything other than cut his hands off on that one, but he probably should have had a red card. He probably there was another one that on Rafinha where he kicked Rafinha's legs, which I think could have been called. I think Inigo could have gotten a red card for putting his cleats right into Jude's hand. I think there were a lot of weird calls. And the Frankie one, definitely it shouldn't have been reviewed by VAR based on the rules, but you could argue it could have been called in the moment if the referee had seen it. Maybe he should have called it in the moment. Either way,
Mm.
I like to sit here and just talk about the referee so much is crazy to me because
Well, so much. There's a list of decisions that had to be discussed. Yes or yes.
sure, but all of those calls were most of those calls were debatable, as you said. There's arguments about it. But let me just be clear then. Maybe I'm misinterpreting. Do you think the referee was bad, or it was corruption against Barca?
No, I don't want to say corruption. I just think that. Did you hear, for example, and the reason why? Look, I had again the pleasure to speak to my other podcast partner. You might know him, Fernando Morientes, right? And
The goat.
with the goat. So we spoke about the Clasico and we spoke about the refereeing decisions. And it was quite funny. I got the chance to ask him about the Inter referee, ¿cómo se llama? The good man, Marciniak? Marciniak? I forgot his name. But he was pictured as portrayed as being Madridista because he was photographed with a Real Madrid necessaire, what they call what do you call them, like a not a beauty case but like what do you call it in English, my friend, what you travel with where you put your
A bathroom
mm,
bag.
cleaning products in. Okay, a bathroom bag for of Real Madrid. There were like let's say dubious decisions that he made in the past as well that clearly went against Barça, particularly in the Inter Barça game that took place under Xavi Hernandez.
Wait.
And
I'm still confused. Backtrack. Are we talking about this referee?
no, we're talking about the Inter referee, Marciniak, I think his name was. So I might be pronouncing his name wrong.
You're saying Marciniak has been pictured with a Real Madrid bag?
Yes, yes, he has a Real Madrid necessaire.
Like that he got from Real Madrid as a gift
Like
during
he
one of the
walks
matches?
around to the games, and his little beauty bag or bathroom bag, as you called it, is Real Madrid branded. Yes,
Okay.
and add to that a whole bunch of. Anyway, the point I'm trying to get to is that obviously, ambassador of La Liga in Spanish football, Real Madrid legend Morientes didn't want to hear about the conspiracy. He said, "Look, I don't believe in conspiracies. The whole Negrera case doesn't make any sense to me. I played 20 years football, and I never felt that I was being wrongly, or let's say, in a what would you call it? Like a conspiratorial plot. Like I don't think that the forces were either in favor of me or working against me." Um, he said that, and I have to take his obviously his word for it. He did say, which he's not the first one to say that. Sergio Ramos came to mind, and I did mention that as well to him. I said, Sergio Ramos said that playing for a big club like Real Madrid, the referees do treat you differently. And he agreed with that. He said, yes, that is true. It is true that when you play for the big clubs that you feel that referees are maybe a little bit more polite with you. They treat you in a different kind of way, but in no way, shape, or form do I feel that that influences the outcome. I think, that in and of itself is interesting to say the least. Um, I think
Can
on the
I just
day,
interject?
I'll
Okay.
finish with my point. On the day with Hernandez, I don't think that there's a conspiracy, but I do feel that there were many decisions that should have that are missing a consistent criteria. That's all I'm trying to say.
I mean, with Hernandez and Hernandez specifically, you're surely not suggesting he favors Real Madrid.
In the game in the last Clasico, he clearly did, in my opinion. Absolutely.
Like intentionally favored Real Madrid or
No,
got
I don't know
called
his
wrong.
decision intentionally. I don't know, but
Okay.
he did on that occasion. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, the thing
If
is,
this, if Real Madrid TV could have had their hands on this material, they would have a field day. I mean, they would lose their minds.
sure, but I mean that's a different subject to like. I'm actually just like curious, like out of curiosity, when Real Madrid does release those videos, do you watch them or no?
Yeah, it's impossible not to. They're
And
plastered all over
when you
social media.
watch them, what goes through your head? Are you like, yeah, those are bad calls? Like, do you watch like what is your takeaway from watching them? Like watching the calls specifically.
That it's
Do you think they were
we're witnessing.
invented or fabricated or what? Or are they
No,
real things that went against Real Madrid?
in most cases, no. I think they're fabricating. I mean, it's propaganda at its very finest. I don't think
Oh,
that
are they
they get
AI
half of these
generated
decisions
videos
right.
or
Sorry.
are they AI generated videos?
No, I just think they skew the reality.
How?
Well, because they don't tell, first of all, the two sides of the story.
Okay.
And many
That's
calls are debatable or just flat out wrong, what they say.
I mean, I don't think I've watched all those. Unfortunately, I don't think there has ever been like, oh yeah, that was a that was a call that you guys shouldn't have complained. Like all of those are calls. What they do obviously is not show the ones that favored Real Madrid. But this
Mhm.
is my point from the beginning, and this is why I hate the ref. If we could like literally just talk about referees objectively and say this was a mistake, this was correct, mistake correct, with like without any bias, I'd be down to do it. But it's impossible. Every single fan base thinks it's them that's getting screwed. It
I
makes
agree.
no sense, guys. How can this
I
be?
agree with that.
Which one? There's how many teams in world football? Let's just pretend that there's 100 teams. 100 teams are getting screwed. So which one is the right one? Which of these 100 teams is the one who's actually getting screwed? Like which one is it? Guys, if the refs suck for everybody, then the refs suck. Let's stop having these
I
debates about like
I agree with
this is
that. I
against
agree with
me.
that. But there's a deeper discussion here, Kian. There's a discussion where Florentino Perez makes calls to the refereeing committee, to the CTA, to the Spanish Football Federation, to La Liga, demanding change, demanding the,
Your
and
club is still
you
getting
cannot put the
investigated.
weight
The
of a
investigation is
Florentino
not
Perez
over.
at the same level as like somebody as the president of Deportivo La Coruña. Bueno, Deport no, porque están en tercera, pero joder, un Valencia, any team really that is not Real Madrid. I'd be remiss not to talk about these refereeing decisions in this game, Kian. We can move on if you want.
But you wouldn't have if this was the other way around.
We won. We won. I'm still
No.
mentioning it.
You would if it was the other way around, you wouldn't have brought it up. That's all I'm saying.
Uh, I don't. I mean, well, you would
Yes,
have.
come on. No, I wouldn't have. I don't even bring up. You know those 3 games after the letter. You know which ones I'm talking about.
Mhm.
Even those games, it was all about how much Real Madrid suck. I mean, obviously we could talk about it, but it's not like this. I just, you know me. It's
Okay.
not my favorite topic. I don't like. Literally, Diego, the Negrera investigation is not over. It's
It
not.
isn't.
It's not
They're
over.
still digging deep,
They're
and
still
nothing
digging,
is found.
and it
No
may
proof
take
is
years,
found.
and
Yet
maybe
we
nothing will be
continue.
found. But the fact that like you think that there's any conspiracy And
No, no, you putting words in my mouth.
of all fan bases to be talking about conspiracies, Barcelona, Barca fucking Lona, the only club was being investigated. Like, come on, man, this needs to be dropped. This needs to be dropped. This is crazy. You guys are having a historically great season. That should be in the
Mm.
conversation. That's it.
Well,
Gavi posting stories about they don't want us in the final. What the fuck are you talking about, Gavi?
they can say what they
The guy
want.
who
I
should
think
have 800 red cards in his career by now.
stop. He's hardly even playing. I mean, come on.
Still,
Don't, nah, nah, don't draw the parallels there. I think. Okay, fine. Look, let's move on. I think I'd be not doing justice to this game if we weren't to talk about the referee. It is unfortunate, but I think we needed to discuss it because this could have swung the other way. It ended in a 4-3, and I don't think it should have. Because for me, what I saw, the spectacle that I saw, the talent that I saw, the domination that I saw, the fighting spirit, the comeback, the 2-0 down, the 4-2 at halftime, it was a performance of the ages. And it's not mathematical yet, but it bagged us another Liga. It bagged us a Copa. It bagged us the fourth consecutive Clasico win. That's two cups won against our eternal rival. And finishes, mind you, with still 3 games to play. So not mathematical yet, but nearly finishes, caps off a season that will go down in history as one that has reinvigorated, has reignited the passion, the love that we Barca fans have for our club, our team, these players, and it's a shame for the Champions League. I never, was one to really wanting to engage and entertain the treble talk, but even the way we went out in the Champions League, like I said, I'm excited for next season. There's plenty to talk about as well with regards to where this team needs and can improve. But what do you think? I mean, I know this is again kind of superficial talk, but where do you rank Balón de Oro chatter right now? Do you, it's again obviously being talked about in the newspaper. It's Dembele, it's whoever wins the Champions League. Do you think it is? Do you think that this season, this year rather, obviously it's awarded at the end of the year, so there's still the first half of next season to take into account. But right now, what's your podium looking like?
be better to answer this question after the Champions League final. Um, if PSG wins, I think Dembele has a good shout.
So
If
is it
Inter,
shouldn't we just call it the Champions League ball? Like, I mean, if that's all that matters, then
you kidding me?
don't give me the Vinny.
When
I'm
has the
just saying,
Champions
like,
League ever like it's literally go like Vinicius, Carvajal, Bellingham dominated all season and then lost it because Rodri had to win it. Champions League is the be all end all. Are you kidding me? You're really trying to rile me up this podcast, man.
so you're saying though that Champions League plus a league on title weighs heavier than whatever Lamine Yamal and Rafinha have done this season so far.
Well, I mean, they're having great years, but let's not pretend
Who
that.
let me put it this way: if Inter win, who wins the Ballon d'Oro?
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't see the thing with Inter. It's tough because they don't really have that star that jumps out.
Hmm.
You could probably like Lautaro or Bastoni, but Bastoni is definitely never going to win. Um, Lautaro, I don't think has enough PR. I mean, he won that year. Which year was it? Like 2 years ago, right? He had
Hmm.
an unbelievable year, and he finished seventh. I don't think Lautaro has enough PR, unfortunately.
It's not
But
PR, bro. It's 9 goals this season. It's
well,
12
yeah, that's
goals
that's the thing.
in.
Like Lautaro isn't as good as he was 2 years ago, and so
Hmm.
it's tough with Inter because like they're more of a collective. They're a team that just functions really well tactically, and they don't really have one superstar who jumps out. Um, so I don't know if but I mean I think if Inter win, or PSG win, Dembele has a shout. But the
for sure.
podium would probably be something like this is just off the top of my head, and I'd have to think about it, and I haven't. But it could be something like Lamine, Rafinha, Dembele, something like that for the podium.
Yeah, I think that's accurate.
But let me think. Like the Premier League,
I mean,
Salah's
obviously
had an
most Salah.
unbelievable year. Yeah, Salah's
Yeah.
had a great year. Sorry, I totally forgot him. My apologies. Um, yeah,
Yeah,
this
but
is
what
on
are
the
you gonna
spot. I
do with
haven't thought
somebody
about it.
that got knocked out in the quarters, right?
It seems like you're finally valuing the Champions League and how difficult it is to win it. Interesting. So you
No,
think,
I'm just saying for those that vote. Look, I
well,
think the reason why Vinny didn't win, you that likes the name PR all the time, I think that's probably very accurate. I think the
what?
likability factor of Vinny just went down the drain, and that has taken a hit so hard that he has not been able to recover from that, despite the fact that he said he would come back 10 times better. Did you see what happened there? I mean, I didn't really catch in the aftermath of it. I don't know exactly what went down. It was a little bit awkward when he seemed to signal for a substitution, then didn't, then in the end did. He limped out, and one heroic Barça fan in the stands showed him the balón de playa, a beach ball that obviously Vinny took the bait and he had to point it. And that was just delicious. I lapped that one up. You'll have to again excuse me. But what happened exactly there with Vinny? He, again, the press are running with this, but I want to know what your take is.
Press are running off with the beach ball and the injury?
No, no, yeah, what happened on the field?
I mean, I don't know. He had a really bad game despite having 2 assists.
Was he faking an injury?
I don't know. It's not my place to say whether he was or not. I have no idea, and I think anyone who pretends to know actually doesn't know. The thing I think about actually more is Victor Munoz, the kid who came on. Poor guy missed that chance and just got slandered by fans on social media. That's the only thing I can think about in that situation.
Yes, I saw that as well. Very
Yeah.
distasteful. Were
Uh,
you
so,
what tell us about Munoz?
um, talented winger. Um, I don't really know what else to say. I mean, he had literally like 30 seconds.
Are we going to see him in the team next season? What is
I
he
don't think so.
juvenil talent?
No, I don't think so. Um, my guess is no. Uh, Having said that, I can't say for sure. I mean, I also don't think Carlo would have played him if this was October. I think this is Carlo was like, YOLO, I'm out of here. Bring on Victor Munoz. And it
That's
kind of
what I
reminded
said.
me.
That's
It
what I
kind of
said. I was like, Guler's starting for those reasons. He's like, Guler, just
yeah.
go. I'm out of here. Just fucking do it already.
It kind of reminded me. Remember, there was a Clasico. I want to say like 20 years ago, and we had so many injuries. It was a little bit less than 20 years ago, and you remember Miguel Palanca?
Oh, Palanca.
I think it was during either the shoes. I think it was a Schuster year. It may have been the
But
same
he's the
year
guy
where
that invented the Palanca. It's named after him or what?
no, he's a
No?
Real Madrid player. It
No,
was.
but
I think it was.
the Palanca is named after a person. I'm
No,
pretty sure. No, no es una palanquita.
you're thinking
No?
of Panenka.
Panenka. Sorry.
Yeah, I thought you were
Look, I'm
referring to
thinking
the leaders.
Palanca of oh my god. Yeah, okay.
Anyways, it was the Clasico, and I think I could be wrong, but I think it was the year where Schuster said it's impossible to win the league. Remember against Barcelona?
Ah, yeah, 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 yeah.
I think it was that same year, and we went into that game in the Camp Nou with 3 million injuries, and then this kid came off the bench who had no one had ever heard of. His name was Miguel Palanca, and he never appeared for Real Madrid again. You don't remember that? I
Juan
think
de
it was
Ramos,
Eto'o scored. It was
2008.
a 2-0.
So I don't remember this kid, but I'm seeing it here. Yeah.
Anyways, it reminded me of that. We have super chats. You want to take some super chats?
Absolutely.
First of all, shout out to our YouTube member Derek Miraz. Welcome to the family. You're about to get a ton of bonus content, including a lot of post Clasico stuff that you didn't get if you were not a member. Pranav Jadhav says, "Congrats, Diego. By the way, Barca's 4 Clasico wins have exact same goal differential as Madrid's last season. Just saying. Also, are you concerned with Lamine Yamal's game time? Is that true? So Barca outscored 16-4. No, not 4. 16.
5.
No, it's
No?
got to be
Or
more than
6.
5. We scored 2 in the Copa final. I mean, yeah, we scored 2 in Copa final, 2 in the Super Copa. That's 4, 3, 7. So 16-7. Is that right?
A ver, déjame verlo. Ahora lo tengo aquí. 0, 2, son 5, 4 y... Yeah, 5. 7, 7, excuse me. 7, 7.
16-7.
7.
So we outscored Barca 16-7 in those Clásicos too. PR,
I'll
man.
tell you now.
We need PR. Where's our PR for that?
6,
Domination.
10, no, 10, 13 to 3, 13 to 4.
Yeah, 9. We need PR.
You need better performances is what you need.
Pranav, can you sign up for Real Madrid's PR team? They need you, buddy. No one knew this.
Pranav, thank you for your question. Hold on.
Sorry, the question. Lamine Yamal's game time.
Yeah, normally I would. And I'm always one to always talk about dosificar, right? Kind of dosificando los minutos, managing the minutes of the youngsters, especially if they're still not fully developed into mature grown men. But when you have an outlier like Lamine Yamal, I mean, what are you gonna do? Yes, I want him not to play all the minutes all the freaking time, but sometimes you have to bend the rules for someone that is very special. And I say that knowing, and I don't like to mention this because I don't want to jinx nothing, but obviously I feel like in cases like Pedri or Ansu Fati, they were used too much. Ansu Fati got an incredible amount of pressure and weight placed upon his shoulders that I think was unsustainable. Pedri luckily has made a turnaround. Ansu hasn't. I say Pedri because of all the injuries, not so much for his quality. But of course, I hope that Lamine Yamal will understand that even at a young age and with all the hunger and ambition that he has and talent, he still needs to understand that you cannot play, every single minute of every game.
Yeah, but I mean that won't be up to him. I like, but the thing is, like, I agree with you. When you're a player that good, what else do you expect? Unless you're talking about, situations where you're up 3-0 at halftime, then what's the point of keeping him in the game? Preserve his legs in those situations, bring him off or whatever. But when you're this good, you're gonna play a lot. I mean, I would even argue, was it last season? Was it last season his debut season or 2 years ago?
2 years, yeah.
I think it was last season that I said it, where I was like watching him play and I was like, you can't afford to bench this guy. He's the best line breaker you have. And even then it was crazy to say that because it's like, he's a kid. Like, how much pressure can you put on him? But the reality was that Barca were better with him on the field and Barca really needed him. So
29th of April, 2023, Kiyan, sorry.
Yeah.
Was his La Liga debut.
Nemerium says, bring on Global Madridista and let Diego talk to him. Hey, Diego, why don't you just go reach out to Global Madridista? Apparently, he's going to put you in your place, buddy.
I don't know who that is. But sure.
Oscar
Tell
says,
me to subscribe to D-Spot, and we'll have a debate there.
Oscar says, a 4-peat for Barca means more than 15 Champions Leagues for them.
Oh, my God. Oscar, the 15 Champions Leagues. Okay, yes.
I don't know what this means. No entiendo.
The 4-peat, the 4 consecutive defeats over Madrid means more, supposedly, than 15 Champions League. Okay, Oscar. Thank you.
Sarcasm?
Oscar Luigi, for your contribution.
He's coming from D-Spot, it says. So I think he's a Barca fan, no?
Impossible with a comment like this. Are you coming at D Spot? Thank you, Oscar. You're a valued member of the D Spot
Man,
community.
slandering your own fans. This guy, he's serious. No, bro, he's serious. He's saying that your four-peat for Barca means more than 15 Champions Leagues. For them, that means for them, Real Madrid. He's serious.
Oscar, you're a valued member of the community, and I thank you for your contribution. Please stick around. We stream nearly every day. Make sure you hit the notification bell so you are notified when we go live. Thank you.
Pranav says, likability factor of Rafinha. Stealing physio bags, swearing at refs, pushing
Stealing.
mats, hitting
Stop.
Celta players on the face,
As
among
if.
others.
Oh my God.
He is right, though.
Pranav.
You do have double standards when it comes to this
No,
stuff.
absolutely. Stealing
Yeah,
physio bags. You mean like escorting a player off when he didn't even have the right to have physio attend to him. He needed to be escorted off the pitch before physios could actually attend to him. That was absolutely right. We were in a rush. Swearing at referees. Excuse me. Excuse me. Excuse me. Swearing at referees. Vale, muy bien. Pushing mats.
But isn't that the
Who's
point?
mats?
Either it's all okay or none of
Like
it's
the
okay.
entire Real Madrid team should be had red carded if it's about swearing referees.
No, but isn't that
Pushing
the point?
mats. What is pushing mats?
I don't
Who's
know what
mats?
Mats is. I don't know.
Hitting Celta player in the face. You mean when also?
He should have got a red card for that, by the way, and he
No,
scored the winning goal.
no. What's his name? Yago Aspas was doing dirty dark art tricks
Nah,
himself,
come on. Doesn't
wasting
matter.
time, and he made a meal of
So
it.
that justifies the red. When Vinny was doing that to Kimmich, you called it out. Just to FYI.
Well, Kimmich and then some other players. So
Either Diego, either it's all good or none of it's good. We got to make up our mind on this. Come on.
there's always context.
Mm.
Rafinha is
No.
not the same as Vini. Let's not go there.
There's
Like
been an entire
Rafinha is not
1-year
the same as
sample
Vini.
size of it. Of him
The
being
large
like this.
majority of Madridista fan base want Vini to either stop his antics or they want him out, and that's not the same as Rafinha. Put a poll on managing Madrid.
What I'm saying is that it's either all good or none of it's good. So either you're
But there's
okay with Vinny
context.
and Rafinha and Gavi and Inigo
No,
Martinez, or
there's
you're not okay
context,
with any
Kiyan.
of it.
Kiyan, there's context. There's the amount of time. If it's
What was the
a
context
weekly
for? What was
reoccurring
I had
pattern,
a
or if
question.
it's a one-off.
What was the context of Inigo Martinez spitting at Cherby?
I saw that.
All good, right?
Did I say that was all good?
I'm just saying, like,
No, that's
listen.
not all good. It's disgusting. I don't want to see that.
Okay. I also want to say that things are going really well for Barca right now, so I think you're letting a lot of this stuff slide for that reason. I think if things were not as good as they were, you'd probably take issue with this stuff. Like if Rafinha was not performing, for example, I think you would start taking issue with it. But
I
he's
don't think it's
performing, so
that
you're okay with
often.
it.
I don't think it happens that often, that frequently, that consistently for me to sit here and take issue with taking the physio's bag off when you know that was the right thing to do. Because again, the referee should have never allowed the physios to tend to the player on the pitch in that situation in the first place, man. The protocol says do it off the field. Rafinha was taking the doctor's bags off the field. Come on, man. Come on. Move on. Let's go.
Atiru is just giving us a super chat. We appreciate that. Thank you so much for that.
Absolutely. Hit me up on B spot too, Atigo.
Yeshai Thai says Ancelotti says La Liga is not over yet.
He's right. Mathematically, he's right. We have Espanyol. We have Villarreal.
What do you think Schuster would have said?
He would have already been fired, wouldn't he? Wouldn't he have?
All right, bro. Anything else before we wrap it up here?
No, just please, peoples, hit us up on patreon.com, churros y tácticas. That's with a / of course. For those of you that already have, you'll notice that the tiers have changed. More information on that on the Thursday. Do bear with us and be patient because I might have done something wrong. I don't know. I tried to change the tiers. I think I might have screwed something up. I see some of you guys have actually leaped over to the tier that you were before. I thank you for that. The any tier that you were subscribed to, anyways, for this month is valid until midway next month. So that's mid June. But yeah, tiers have changed, and if you guys are asking us for the reason why, it's because this is our job and we do this for a living and we love to do this. But there also has to be need to be bread on a plate come end of the month, and rent needs to be paid. So I thank you guys for your support, loyal support, long time support. You guys have stuck with us through thick and thin, and we want to do good by you guys to give you guys more options and also more content. Again, different tiers will get you guys more up close and personal with us. So take advantage, I would say. And yeah, thank you. We'll talk to you guys on Thursday on Patreon.
Yeah, and for those of you guys who are managing Madrid here, and stick around in about 20 minutes, we're going to do a podcast as well to talk about the season being over and big picture discussion. Super chat the buzzer. Oscar says, "Your boy Oscar, trust his domestic doblete is greater than Champions League and La Liga." I agree,
Oscar,
Oscar. In
you're an
fact,
interesting character. Do stick around. I like you.
personally,
I need my time to decipher some of your messages, but
personally, I think Copa del Rey is the most important title.
I laughed my ass off with what you sent me. That was really funny.
I'm glad you found humor in that. I thought you were gonna get upset. I thought you were gonna like.
Oh
Uh,
boy. All right, man.
Anyway, can I just play it really quick for our listeners?
Yeah, yeah, of course.
Uh, you're gonna screen share me and Diego's Instagram message history. I made sure to make sure none of my other DMs are visible. Hopefully that worked.
Watch that Lamine Yamal story if you're curious as to where he got the name from.
So good. All right, we gotta go. Thanks guys for tuning in. Patreon.com/churros y tácticas is where you get the really, really raw churros. All right. Thanks, Diego. Congrats on the league. Congrats on another
Thank you,
Clasico
buddy.
win.
Thank
Peace
you.
out.
Peace.